Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum class. Today we today we are going to discuss a topic, a new topic, which is hexose monophosphate shunt. Hexose monophosphate pathway is also known as hexose monophosphate shunt. It's also known as pentose phosphate pathway because many pentoses sugars are involved in it, and it's also known as phosphogluconoate pathway. It's in fact an alternative pathway to the glycolysis and TCA cycle for the oxidation of the glucose for the production and the availability of the energy in the form of glucose in a cell. HMP shunt is more anabolic in nature because it's concerned uh, with this biosynthesis of nicotine adenine phosphate is a hydrated form, or the you can say the reductive form, and many pentoses sugar. It's unique multifunctional pathway because this pathway is started with glucose 6 phosphate. As such, throughout the pathway, no ADP is directly utilized and produced. It's multifunctional in nature because many functionalities like aldehydic, ketonic, ester, lactones, they take part in the pathway and the chemical reaction, and these all are produced and proceed in different direction, which resulted in the different metabolic reactions and the formation of different metabolites in a cell. The location of HMP pathway is mainly it's located in the cytosol, and the cytosol of the tissues which are concerned with the liver, adipose tissue, adrenal gland, erythrocytes or the red blood cells, and some glands also. Here is the schematic reaction or the pathway for the HMP shunt. Overall, the reactions of HMP shunt is divided into two phases. One phase concerned with the oxidative reaction or oxidation of the substrate, and the second one is known as the non-oxidative phase. The first phase, which is called oxidative phase, is concerned with the mainly the removal of the hydrogen from the substrate. Step by step, you will see how the hydrogens are removed from the substrate and what's the role of NADP in this case to remove the hydrogen from different substrate, which may be glucose type, which may be uh, hexose type, hexosis or pentosis type. The first reaction is acts on the glucose. The first enzyme acts on the substrate, which is glucose 6 phosphate, and the name of enzyme is glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. You can see the structure of the glucose 6 phosphate, in which phosphate group is present at the sixth position. It's a cyclic form of the glucose is drawn over here, and two hydrogens are removed from the glucose 6 phosphate. These two hydrogens are removed from the first position, from the first carbon. Therefore, NADP takes these two hydrogen in the form NADPH and H positive. Magnesium ion is the cofactor which is needed for the activity of dehydrogenase enzyme. And in this way, the glucose 6 phosphate is changed into 6 phosphogluconolactone. Lactone formation takes place over here, Lectron are the cyclic ester. Therefore, this is the esteric functionality is built over here by the removal of one and two second one hydrogen from this carbon, and these two first carbon and the fifth carbon is joined through the oxygen. Therefore, there is formation of the lectone. This 6-phosphogluconolactone is further hydrolyzed by the enzyme gluconolactone hydrolase. What this enzyme will do, in fact, it break up this bond. How it will break up this bond? Because water molecule carries the lone pair of the electron, and these lone pair of the electron will act on this carbon. Because this carbon is deprived of electron density, it's the electropositive center, as carbonyl is the strong electron withdrawing group, and by incorporating further oxygen, its electropositivity enhances. Therefore, water molecule attached or the attacked over here, and this bond will be lysis. When this bond will be breakdown, oxygen will be remained attached with this carbon, and this carbonyl will be converted into OH. Here only the carboxylate anion is represented over here, not the hydrogen. It's the understood that the hydrogen is present over here. And when this bond lysis breakdown, the oxygen is remained attached with this carbon. Therefore, this position will be changed as hydroxyl functionality. Therefore, 6-phosphogluconolactone, by the effect of the hydrolase enzyme, it's changed into 6-phosphogluconate. Now it's no more a cyclic lactone cyclic esteric structure. The further reaction is catalyzed by the phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. It means that again there is role of the dehydrogenase enzyme, and what this enzyme will do, this enzyme will in fact remove the hydrogens. How these hydrogens are removed? The intervening step is not was not the part of this reaction. Therefore, I have attached another pathway in which this intervening compound or the intermediate is shown over here, and therefore by the action of NADP, which is reduced in NADPH and H, uh, this carbon is reduced to the, and this carbon dehydrogenized from here. This hydrogen is removed, second hydrogen is removed, and it's changed into the carbonyl functionality. After this carbonyl functionality, this enzyme further will catalyze the reaction into the synthesis of the ribulose 5-phosphate. For approaching up to this stage, there must be removal of the carbon dioxide. Therefore, the carbon dioxide is removed from the like position number 1, like this carbon dioxide must be removed. Therefore, this carbon dioxide, the removal of this carbon dioxide results in the formation of simple CH2. I have shown over here and also over here. There is formation of ribulose 5-phosphate, which is definitely one carbon less compound than the 6-phosphogluconate. Therefore, from this stage 6-phosphogluconate to ribulose 5-phosphate, there are removal of the 2 hydrogens, but one hydrogen is again incorporated in order to make it as CH2OH, not as CH2O negative. And there is removal of 1 carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. Second half is the non-oxidative phase. In this phase, there are not direct removal of the, you can say, the hydrogens for the dehydrogenations, but there is only the interconversion of the different forms of the monosaccharides, like the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 carbons. They are interconverted into one another. If we will discuss the first reaction, it started from the ribulose 5-phosphate. On ribulose 5-phosphate, two enzymes act. One is epimerase, second is ketoisomerase. What epimerase enzyme will do, epimerization means there are only the two isomers which are different from the position at the only one carbon difference. It means that you can say the overall uh, the configuration at one carbon is changed, rest of the structure remains the same. If we will compare this ribulose 5-phosphate to the xylulose 5-phosphate, then we can conclude that at this carbon, this stereochemistry is changed. At this carbon, the position of H and OH is changed. In ribulose 5-phosphate, OH is present on the right side, but in case of the xylulose 5-phosphate, it's present on the left-hand side of this carbon. Therefore, this enzyme causes the epimerization, only change of shuffling of these two hydrogen and OH. You can say the functionalities, the atoms, the bond. Whereas the second enzyme which acts on the ribulose 5-phosphate is ketoisomerase. What ketoisomerase will do, it will change the position of this carbonyl group. Therefore, if we start from the bottom, then you can see CH2O, OH, OH. Up till now, the environment is same. This carbonyl is shifted to the first one. Is means that this carbon is no more in alcoholic form. It has been changed into aldehydic form like this, and this carbon has been shuffled to the hydroxyl form. Therefore, by the action of epimerase and ketoisomerase, there is formation of xylulose 5-phosphate and ribose 5-phosphate. Next is the action of the transketolase enzyme. What transketolase enzyme will do, it will in fact shift the 3 carbon units between these two, you can say the monosaccharides. It catalyzes the transfer of the 2 carbons moiety from the xylulose 5-phosphate to the ribose 5-phosphate. Therefore, xylulose 5-phosphate remains only 1, 2, 3, 3 carbon units like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It means that this xylulose 5-phosphate has been changed into this one, and ribose 5-phosphate has been changed into pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate after incorporation of these 3 carbons, first 3 carbons. This function is carried out by the transketolase enzyme, and this enzyme is dependent on its activity for the thiamine pyrophosphate and for magnesium ion as well. Later on, you will see what's the structure of the thiamine pyrophosphate. It's in fact a cofactor which is responsible for the this functioning of the enzyme transketolase over here to shift the 3 carbon units from one sugar to another sugar, resulting in the formation of 7 carbon monosaccharides and 3 carbon monosaccharides respectively. Again, transaldolase carry on its activity and it transferred the three fragment of the carbon again from the pseudoheptulose to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now it will transfer the three carbon fragment again, which results in the formation of this one into this fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate uh, now change into and 7 pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate change into erythrose 4-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate, and there is transfer of three fragment carbon units from pseudoheptulose to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Then glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate plus three more units gives the fructose 6-phosphate. When there is removal of three carbon from here, then only the four carbon like this later bottom four carbon will remains over here. Then pseudoheptulose will no longer be remain the seven carbon, it will change into the four carbon units. And always remember the terminal carbon will not be remain in this way, like it will be the COH NH, it must be converted into the carbonyl functionality. Next is the interconversion. After the erythrose 4-phosphate, there is formation of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. In the upcoming slide, you will clearly see that there is role of the xylulose 5-phosphate also to give the fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which will further yield the became the pathway, become the part of pathway which is called glycolysis. Here is the overview of the HMP shunt, keeping in view the number of the carbon which each glucose consists of and number of molecules which will be yielded of each of these different type of the monosaccharides. Let's starting from here, glucose 6-phosphate, it's a 6 carbon unit, 6 NADs be act on because there are 6 molecule present over here to give again 6 molecules of 6-phosphogluconolactone, and it's also 6 carbon unit. Further, there is formation of the 6-phosphogluconate 6 carbon. It's removal of the hydrogens and the one carbon dioxide molecule result in the formation of the ribulose 5-phosphate, which by the action of the isomerases, epimerases, and ketoisomerase enzyme result in the formation of xylulose 5-phosphate and ribose, which after interconversion 5 carbon and again this 5 carbon, the transfer of the units carbons result in the formation of 7 carbon and 3 carbons. Again there is transfer of the carbon to yield 4 carbon and 6 carbon units. And this erythrose 4-phosphate, from here xylulose 5-phosphate come, and from the bottom erythrose 4-phosphate comes. They results in the, it's the 5 carbon, it take up the 1 carbon to make the fructose 6-phosphate, whereas erythrose 4-phosphate gives up 1 carbon to give glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate enters the cycle which is called the glycolysis to yield the fructose 6-phosphate. And from here fructose 6-phosphate, the fructose 6-phosphate which comes over here, they goes towards the glucose 6-phosphate, and glucose 6-phosphate is can enter the number of the pathways. In this way, many of the monosaccharides uh, they are interconvertible. They yielded a number of the pentoses, and also the many NADPH are produced over here. Next is what's the significance of AHMP shunt? Its significance lies mainly in generation of the two important products. One is pentosis and other is NADPH, which are needed for the biosynthetic reaction and in the biosynthesis of many metabolites. And importance of pentosis lies in uh, hexoses are in fact converted into pentoses and mainly ribose 5 phosphate. And this pentose and its derivative are very important because they are the part of the nucleic acid like RNA, DNAs, and many nucleotide units like adenosine triphosphate, NAD, FAD, and coenzyme A. If there is deficiency of the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, which is involved in the very first reaction, then it is in fact the inherited trait. What the deficiency will call, it occurs mainly in the red blood cells. If with the person which is affected by this type of deficiency, HMP shunt is the only as means of providing NADPH. The decreased activity of this enzyme, which is G6PD, it impairs the synthesis of in fact NADPH, which results in the accumulation of the methemoglobin and peroxides in the erythrocytes, and further it leads to the hemolysis. Hemolysis means the red blood cells are going to be breakdown, like here it's shown over here. They are not the normal red blood cells. They undergo the deformation, and further there is breakdown or the lysis of the red blood cells occurs due to the deficiency of the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and in fact the deficiency of NADPH, which is very essential for the detoxification process as well. And what is the methemoglobin? It's in fact the form of the hemoglobin, which is the impaired form or default, you can say the wrong form of the hemoglobin, in which the iron is present in Fe3 plus state instead of Fe2, which is the normal one. Therefore, when the iron is abnormal, it will not bind the oxygen, therefore, it will not carry oxygen throughout the cell. Further is importance of NADPH lies that it's provide the biosynthesis of many fatty acids and steroids, which are concerned with the tissues like adipose tissues and liver. It's also used in the synthesis of certain amino acids by involving the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase. And there is continuous production of the hydrogen peroxide in the living cell, and these living cells, it must be removed because it will damage the unsaturated lipids, proteins, and DNA structures. Therefore, in order to prevent it, there is detoxification which must be occurs through the NADPH. NADPH acts as antioxidant, and therefore the free radical scavenging process occurs, and oxidation, you can say the detoxification of H2O2 results in. And it's have also one more important role. It is involved in the phagocytosis of the cell. Whenever there is involvement or the entry of the any foreign particle like microorganism, then white blood cells take the part of the offensive and defensive mechanism. And for this purpose, there is requirement of uh, continuous supply of NADPH. Uh, then NADPH is involved in the process of phagocytosis, in which white blood cells take the part of, mm, uh, you can say, offensive and defensive mechanism. The special function of NADPH, which occurs in RBC, it's through the in fact the glutathione reduction and its oxidation, and it occurs in the erythrocytes, mainly red blood cells. And the concentration of reduced glutathione must be maintained, because when glutathione in reduced form is there and H2O2 is continuously produced in the cells, it must be detoxified and produced largely in the water. Therefore, this functionality gives the hydrogens to H2O2 to synthesize or formulate into water. And this reduced form, by giving the hydrogen, is converted to oxidized form. And again, second enzyme which occurs, take part in its process is the glutathione reductase. It causes the reduction of this one, but this is accompanied by NADP. The NADP is reduced in this way, NADPH and H, and making this one in the oxidized form and this one in the reduced form. Therefore, this equilibrium, or the you can say the optimal concentration of the glutathione reduced form must be maintained in the cell, which is governed by the reductase and peroxidase enzyme along with the role of NADPH in RBC. Here is structure of the heme and iron is given. Iron must be present in the iron 2 in order to take the uh, oxygen to the cell. Otherwise, iron 3 will result in the accumulation of the methemoglobin in the cell, which should be prevented. And therefore, NADPH is very necessary to keep the iron in the Fe2 or the ferrous form, not in the Fe plus 3 form. It must be present in the reduced form, Fe plus 2 form. And also the high concentration of this NADPH is present in the lens of eye, which is necessary to uh, keep the transparency of the eye lens and make the vision clear. There is well-known disease or the syndrome which is caused by the disorder which is associated with the hexose monophosphate shunt. Uh, this syndrome is Wernicke Korsakoff syndrome, which is in fact genetic and result in the alteration of the transcriptase. Transcriptase is, you know, a very important enzyme. It causes the transformation of the many throughout the cycle, many 3 carbon, 4 carbon, uh, 7 and 3, 6 carbon monosaccharides, sugars. Therefore, it reduces its affinity for the thymine pyrophosphate. Here's the structure of thymine pyrophosphate. When affinity is reduced, and this syndrome will occur, and it's associated with the certain symptoms, which is linked with the mental disorder, memory loss, and somehow paralysis as well. And these symptoms are further magnified and augmented in case of the person which is deficient with vitamins, and he used alcohol. This is all about the HMP shunt. Uh, you have to do the assignment on for these two questions. What is G6PD deficiency, and how HMP shunt is linked to the other metabolic process? Good luck.